Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
It's just what you need and not what you don't. I say that so much that it just gets old after a while.
Good morning.
You know, I realized that this is becoming an addiction. Morning show. I got up at 3:00 this morning and I walked up to the store and I just realized that, to get myself by the way, I'm drinking Diet Pepsi from the morning show mug. I walked up to the convenience store. The weather here is pretty nice. I usually give you the weather. If I can find the right mouse. I'm using two computers, so it's two mice. Two mice. Current temperature outside here is 57 degrees. It just changed on me. And I planted yesterday. I have a video out and trying to diminish the lighting because it's 5:26 a.m. and I don't need too much lighting. Actually, if I had a lot of lighting on my face, you'd probably notice that I got a slight sunburn yesterday almost, or a little bit of color, as they say. Let's see if we can see the name Game Over, and of course, great solar stuff, and the NOAA radio that emergency charges your cell phone and all that jazz. Right.
Temperatures to near 60 degrees on Friday over most of the Commonwealth.
So, yeah, it's it's pretty crazy. So I planted some stuff. There's a garden video up. It's only about 8 minutes or so. So, if you haven't gotten your morning show mug yet, get one. That's why it said sponsored something or other in the upper corner. So today's a Thursday in the mid-Atlantic states. I call it the former United States. And it's April 8th. And in my neck of the woods, 70 degrees today, overnight 50. Friday, 63 degrees, 52 overnight. Saturday, 68 degrees, 57 overnight. Sunday, 66 degrees, 48 overnight. Monday, 64 degrees, 48 overnight. 48 I could take, right? Cooties I can handle, like from that movie, Vincent Vega. But it's going to be in the 30s, like sometime in the next 10 days. But I already put my lettuce out, and if I recommend you watch my garden video, you'll get a glimpse of that. If you were brought to this video, this is the Tony Caravan morning show, and if the Picasso Blue Period photo tragedy brought you here, which I added the tragedy of now, the horror, the morning show. We'll get to that. All right. Just be patient. We're trying to deal with the things we usually deal in the morning. I'm Tony Caravan.
I am your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man.
I must be on some kind of ego, right?
Here's what's happening.
All right, so before we get into serious topics, I want to just show you another thing. It's some of the absurd things that they do. It's the year 2021, and we live with such moronity. Okay, so you get this thing, looks handwritten, made out to some Zachary, somebody or other. It's got a handwritten return address of some place that's like, I don't know. an hour, couple hours from here or something like that. So you open the thing up, and then it's like a weird folded piece of like almost legal paper. It looks like more handwriting. Zachary. And there's some kind of message to it. Excuse me. And in it is, I won't even show you what it is. It's a guy's business card selling basically cars. Anyone who's a fan of my show, all 3, 1, 2 of you, whoever, right? It's like I always say this when instead of that kind of applause, it's usually that. And this, yeah, I know. I'm not laughing with you. We're laughing at you. Right? We're laughing at you. Look at you. The hat and the stuff. We're not laughing with you. We're laughing at you. Anyway, I've decided to take the morning show to more of an absurdist level. As it says in the title, we've entered unchartered territory. And in the description, it's you don't know what you don't know. And of course, you've got links to my TonyCaravanLive.com site and great solar stuff. I've noticed that most of the people on YouTube have basically either completely sold out, in other words, clickbaiting for the sake of keeping up their YouTube job. YouTube's become a job for them. I'm demonetized. Someone may criticize me for saying, yeah, but you hold up your book all the time. Yeah. It's what these conversations are based on. I've written 10 books. I've written 50 songs. That's what I do. The only reason I'm pushing solar stuff and these power backup things are for your sake. It's not mine. I already bought them. Okay. So if the power goes out, I've got lights. I can charge my things, devices, and I can get through it. Right? I don't have to be in a state of panic. So I only do that stuff for you folks. Nobody buys any of it anyway. I don't make a living on this. I lose money on it. Heck, I lost money this morning because of going to a convenience store to buy Diet Cola. Is outside of my budget. I buy 2 for the price. I had to buy 2 for the price that I could buy. Could have bought a 6-pack. See, guys like me think about stuff like that. When you look at that Picasso picture, the tragedy, or some of the other paintings that I put up previously in previous videos, like The Scream and some other things, different artists, various artists. Classic art, fine art, what we call fine art, used to call fine art, more what we have today is, pop culture. Politics is pop culture, right? That's culture in America. I was listening to a classical radio station yesterday, laying in the sun, getting literally, like I say, getting color on my face, sun tanning, more or less. After I planted some lettuce and was taking pictures of some birds, I noticed there was a bunny in my backyard. I don't know if I saved any of these photos. And if I did, if you haven't watched my garden video, I don't know why the light is so weird. There's no excuse for that. What's your problem? There we go. I guess I just have to hold it right next to the camera. It's a little blurry, but you get the idea. That's a bunny I saw in my yard last night or yesterday afternoon. This is the temperature it was. Look at that. And this is the temperature it was inside my mini greenhouse. Approaching 100 degrees. And I had the door open to the mini greenhouse. You could see like a bit of my yard there through the greenhouse. And like I said, the greenhouse door was open. So when I left, that temperature would have shot up to over 100 degrees. I was trying to come to grips with this. I woke up again today at 3 o'clock, opened the back window. The temperature was fine enough to do that. The cat has just abandoned me because the window upstairs in the bedroom's open. So he's up there. And I think that bunny might have found a little nook to like bed down in. So maybe he's smelling that. There's also some dog a couple houses down that, I don't know, barks all night long. I mean, I hate to say this, but they're questionable neighbors in that house. And I have this like weird feeling that he might be a fight dog. And I fixed the power on my porch surveillance cameras, and I have to fix the alarm on my detached garage a little bit later. These are the kind of things I do, but it's not all down. It's
the station for more fun in the sun. Fun radio.
And and this is fun radio, and like I say, it's become an addiction. So this show has no rules anymore. I know, and I'm not looking for an audience. I mean, it's hard for you to understand this, but I'm making this for myself. I'm not sure of the length of this video. The longer, the better. Because what happens is when I'm done, I'll go upstairs and I have YouTube through like Amazon, one of those Fire Sticks, Amazon things. And I'm going to watch this video for whatever length it is, an hour or two. And that'll give me something to do and take me up to the time. Like I say, it's 5:37 Eastern Standard Time. If this lasts 2 hours, that'll take me to 7:30. If I dilly-dally for 20 minutes or whatever it is, somehow, or half hour, that'll be 8 o'clock. And then if I watch it back, the playback for 2 hours, that'll take me to 10. Then I could go out in the backyard and hang out for a couple hours. From 10 to noon is usually like my outdoor time, even in the summertime. Because after that, the sun gets just too intense, and so you do that every day or every sunny day, and you get yourself a deep, dark, delicious tan, a lot of vitamin D, and a lot of relaxation. And like my psycho neighbors and other people like that, don't start getting active with, doing this kind of nonsense. Until usually like noonish. My neighbor did that the other day. April 6th or 5th. Who mows their lawn? It's freaking April. Who mows their lawn, period? Dig it up and turn it into a garden. People are crazy. Sometimes I feel like this.
Good thing that I don't have dangerous brain powers, or right now you'd be in 1,000 little pieces.
That's all I want to do. Is just hang out with the birds and the sun, watching my garden grow. I realize on the playback sometimes, though, however, that I get these weird anomalies when I play a sound effects. It affects the microphone. I haven't heard that clicking thing in a while, but watch me be a hypocrite. For those random people that might have tuned in here, I'm the guy who says this. That we're cattle on a tax farm, consumer farm. That's all we are. I'm the guy who coined the word corporatocracy. Because there's no such thing as governments anymore. Western civilization fell, and I refer to this as the former United States. That's that. And of course, you have the part of that tragedy that I refer to as this.
This is Metropolitan Police speaking. Metropolitan Police speaking. All persons are warned to stay off the streets. All persons are warned to stay off the streets.
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
But in my mind, it's closer to something like this.
They read my thoughts. They communicated to me without even saying a word. They made me laugh. They made me cry. They filled me with this sense of awe that was so profound that I knew right then my life was never going to be the same.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, you could say that again. You definitely say that again.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
Rock Flux.
Let's get this show on the road.
Okay, enough of the sound effects. This is Tony Caravan's Rock Flux channel. So if you go to YouTube and you type in Rock Flux, you should see the classic picture of me. If you can see it there. The iconic image of me, I don't know, 20 some years ago. It's the iconic image of me. It's my brand. Okay. This is a brand shirt. You could get one if you want to, wear the brand, promote the brand. There's also some band. I mean, I have 50 songs that I write, beat poetry and all that stuff. That's my thing. Sorry. Do that to keep from sneezing, and I also wipe the soda off my mustache. Like a Scaramucci? Not that Scaramucci. That's the real Scaramouche. Like my mustache? That's right, sweetheart. Here's looking at you, kid. When I was a young guy, I used to be into doing that kind of stuff. I used to be pretty good with, impersonations and all that kind of stuff. The real clown. But I gave up on that stuff a long time ago. I got behind the camera, so to speak. And it all started a long time ago. But one of the longest running lounge show ever on the internet. This is the intro to it.
Presenting the world's greatest everything. Presenting the world's greatest.
Presenting the world's greatest everything. That was me.
Good morning.
Okay, sounds depressing. But like I said, I don't really care anymore. I'm doing this show for me, and anyone who wants to come along for the ride, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to discuss some weird stuff today. And I realized it took 20 minutes to get to this point, but that's okay. That's okay. It's okay with me. It's fine. It's content. This is something to watch. I've been watching. I mean, I was so desperate to find something to watch on because I have a Netflix. I wanted to cancel Netflix because what I do is sometimes there is a series or a movie, usually a series. So I know it's something I could binge watch for a week or so. And so the value then of paying the minimal one person, Netflix fee for the month, you go, okay, well, that's fine. I'll pay the $10 or whatever it is because this will give me 3 shows a night for a week or 10 days or something, half the month even. $10, that's not bad. But I wanted to cancel it because there's nothing on there, now. And I've seen everything. So I was too late canceling it because like the payment, it's like the end of the month, whatever. And I just noticed, blammo, deducted, you just paid Netflix, auto payment. So I got stuck with Netflix. Tried watching a couple of things. It's just the things they do, the shows they are making are just so off the wall. And I don't mean that in a positive way or in an artistic way. I just mean like just ridiculous. Whatever their audience is I don't want to deal. I'm glad I don't deal with them. That's why I like living alone. I live alone with a cat. That's why I don't really communicate with my neighbor, even though it's just some psychotic old woman who's like lost her mind. I'm not a loner. People who know me from the past realize, no, I was like the party thrower, impresario type of guy, always around and having, even when I was a kid, I had an entourage, It's not that. It's just the way things are now. It's like I prefer when people aren't around. I can't even put up with friends and people and stuff. I just, I like my solitude. I like the way it is. It's once you like get into comfortable with yourself, you just don't the social thing, it no longer means anything to you. So that so it's like you're a person out of time, in a way. I think I got a cut for that, something like that.
He went forward to another time, 1,000 years from now.
That's what it feels like. I live in my own world and I'm broadcasting to you from that world. But I have all these things, right? T-shirts, everything is wrong, the branded T-shirt. And the title of this one, You Don't Know What You Don't Know, I say, is the most comfortable T-shirt. If you buy the cheapest one, if you go to my website and buy the cheapest version of that, just a basic black, I don't know. I think they had some discount that day. I only paid $16 for it because I don't make money on this stuff. I'm supposed to, but I don't know the way it works out. I don't know. I get the stuff and I don't see any commissions or anything. It's like Amazon. Like my Great Solar Stuff site, I sell through Amazon. And one of two things happens. One, Amazon's just screwing me over like YouTube screws me over, like hides these videos, right? There's no way in hell I could have one viewer, all right? Yeah. Or 2 views or 6 views. And when that happens, it's like people who actually seek this out, like somebody who might know me or is curious, who thought they knew me or used to know me or something. Otherwise, this stuff is like hidden and invisible. Yeah. Like it doesn't make sense. Like this thing back here, this device, you could plug some, if the power goes out, you can literally plug something into it and have power. There's USB ports there too in the middle. You could charge this with a solar panel, any kind of solar panel. Even if it's a cheap ass solar panel, you could what's called trickle charge it. Or you could plug it into your house. You could charge it with your car. All right. This is an amazing device, and it's a lithium battery. Right. Well, anyway, part 2 of what I was trying to get at is that, or someone will go to my web, go to greatsolarstuff.com, which is my website that I have this stuff listed on. And they'll go on the link, but then they'll move away and then they'll go and buy it on their own because they're too much of a prick to like buy it through my link, even though it costs the same price. But they don't want to give me the $1 or $2 commission. This has been happening on the internet since the 90s. People are like that. That's the way people are. A lot of people, like the majority of people, they're like that. But anyway, to finish that story. So I was flipping around YouTube because, like I say, I've YouTube through the Prime, the Fire Stick thing. So it's on my TV upstairs. That's why I say after this, I'll go upstairs, sit in my chair. My bedroom's become this compact, like everything world. When I'm downstairs, I've got this front room, and this is my studio. I have a little, it's where I hang out, kind of, in the daytime when I used to do a lot of business and stuff. But I'm like completely retired from that kind of crap now. And the next room over is my kitchen, but that's like my bar. I have like a little bar set up in there. So that's where I like sit at the bar and drink if I feel like it, which is rare. Right. And, at this point, I can't drink. I could only drink one day, and then it takes like a full day to recover. It's not like before. I used to drink after work all the time and all that kind of stuff. It's like you just get older, and it's like you don't have that ability, resilience. It's like if people don't understand, sometimes at rare occasions I have a visitor or something, and it's like, I'm like, look, and I don't mind, we could have a good time right now, drink up, party, play the music, and do all that stuff. But, when it's over because I'm going to be hungover the next day, and I'm not going to want to do anything, and I'm not going to want to drink again, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, even I have, I've blown it with women that way too. Every now and then, I've a friend, a former girlfriend who's just a friend now, kind of. So we drink sometimes together and hang out, but we don't. It's not like a friends with benefits thing anymore. I kind of. But it's like, she's slept over, but she'll sleep downstairs. I sleep upstairs. Type of thing. Sounds weird. But it's like, and then we get up early in the morning and she's off on her way. That's it. I just don't, I'm just not a people person anymore. And I'm just not I'm not a party person that way anymore. It's just the way it is. Sounds weird, but I'm happy most of the time and content. It's like I was thinking about this when I was like laying in bed. Do you notice, like, it's almost like the hangover thing reminded me of it. Like the hangover thing, it takes like, I don't know, it takes like 24 hours from like when you stop drinking till you finally get clear-headed again. I mean, unless you pump yourself filled with caffeine or eat a bunch of sugar stuff or, 2 foot long Italian hoagie. I get hungry after I drink, which is my downfall. Because I could easily gain weight, you know. And so it's like, and I don't want to be a guy who watches his weight, you know. I did gain weight about 10 years, actually, I gained weight about a decade or two ago from sitting in front of a computer because everything I was doing was online. I was sitting at a computer all day long and, just eating, and I was doing dining guides. So when I would go out, I'd get free beer and free gourmet meals at all these restaurants and stuff. People just shoving food at me. And that's like I gained a bunch of weight. And then I took it all off, But now I'm like, I probably could lose about 15, definitely lose about 15 pounds. And I can't get it off. It's like, it's that Thanksgiving through New Year's type of, you end up people gain like 10 or 15 pounds or something sometimes. But I can't shake it this time. It's not like I'm eating sugar, diet, this, salads. So I'm hoping with the summer, when I grow all my veggies, and I guess I just didn't have the what happens is I end up deleting. Let's see if I have my photos in the cloud. Yesterday. No. It's just kind of weird. They seem to store everything else for you that you don't want. Look at this. This is from when I was like doing this work for this dude. All the count his cash and stuff. I used to send it to him just so there was like a record in case his employees tried to steal from him. I could make sure that there was an accounting of it. This is snow pile that just, this is only like a month ago or so. That's how much snow in my neighborhood. I still have a snow shovel on the front porch. I forgot to take it down. And that's my cat, who's upstairs looking out the back window. He doesn't like me doing this because it's confusing. Pardon me. So, I got into that weird tangent. Was weight. I have long pants on too because I walked up the store. I usually wear shorts. I wear shorts like, the one thing about being retired and having your own place and your own private backyard. And I'm trying to make, like I say, this isn't like the family man type of thing where, if I wish, part of me wishes I had some good neighbors, right? So maybe the reason I get on that antisocial route, rant or whatever, is because I just happen to have like crappy neighbors, which, it's my own fault. It just, it's actually the luck of the unluck of the draw, It's like I have a doctor next door. I mean, who's and I switched to him to make him my personal doctor. And this is Tony Caravan Live. We're talking about the horror, the tragedy of now. I mean, all this stuff goes into it. It's just personal stories. So, I mean, you could probably relate to some of this stuff. But, I mean, I'm not going to get into specific things about the plague necessarily, though. I've seen some enlightening things lately that are just like mind-boggling. Have you seen those Texas numbers? There's something like that. I think it was 27 days ago, like a month ago or so. They like opened up the state. Basically, they said it's you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask, but you don't have to. You want to do anything, you do anything. You're free. The state's open. You want to go to a bar, you want to go to a baseball game. They get 20,000 people going to a baseball game, stuff like that. A lot of America doesn't even know this because the news, So I saw a chart they had about case number. So they looked at, they have a chart. And so it's like at this point was like case numbers when they implemented this like a month ago, right? And so case numbers, hospitalizations, deaths type of thing, right? And so like at that point, case numbers, hospitalization, and deaths have been on a steady decline for the last like almost 30 days. And like and Fauci was asked about this in the media, and he was like, well, it's confusing, but there could be. It's like, no, dude, after 36 days or 27 days, whatever it is, that, the 14 days to flatten the curve, it's kind of flown out the window, man. You lied. And there's no explanation for that, because it's like, you can't say, oh, well, it's going to tick up. Well, it can't. I mean, it would have ticked up because you could have said, oh, well, after a couple of weeks, there'll be like that was a super spreading type of thing. So not a month passing and everything's going, wow, basically down to zero practically. So the whole thing, and then I saw this other guy, and there's a whole movement of people who are trying to put some campaigns together to fight this propaganda, because they just keep pushing this stuff. And they won't, it's just the horror, they're just trying to fearmonger people. But there's just so much evidence mounting now. Watch my last 2 videos or last 3 videos. I got into specifics on some of this stuff, but that's part of that. So that's the horror for people, and then they keep going back and forth on this passport, idea where you can't go anywhere unless you're going to need this passport and stuff. But it's like, screw that. And so people are just out of control because, like most people, they're not like me. They're not free spirits. They haven't, they're not immune to propaganda. They fall for it. They believe what they see on the media. Like I say, I cut the cord. I don't have any kind of TV like that anymore. I just get tired of them. They're just used car salesmen or selling pharmaceutical drugs or lying or politics of pop culture, cult of personality. These are like the regular things you hear on this show. And I've been immune to that. And I've said this before, since I was a kid. Just doesn't like, I question everything in my mind. And it's like, I need to experience it firsthand. I think that's why I traveled so much. I was the traveler. I am just a traveler. What movie is that from? That's a real obscure one. I am just a traveler. The remake of The Saint. That was a good movie. I wouldn't mind rewatching that. Like I say, I don't usually rewatch movies, but some movies, I could rewatch. If they don't have those like parts, what I can't stand about shows and movies and stuff like that today is you watch it for entertainment, or escapism, just to pass the time. Okay, I'm done doing my work. It's not like I'm a lazy SOB sitting on a sofa. That's why I got rid of, I'm not a couch potato or a news junkie, never have been. I've always been the guy working like 16 hours a day. That's why I was successful with everything I did and why I've been retired for 7 years, 6 years. But when you finally find something and you start watching it, and then it's like this, it doesn't, like, instead of it being an escapism or making you, taking you into another world, I mean, that's the whole idea of TV and movies and stuff, suspension of disbelief, get into this thing, right? Everything in your room becomes invisible and you're somehow just drawn into the screen and the action. That's the whole idea, the magic of that whole thing. It's the magic mirror, the black mirror. It's witchcraft is what it is. TV's witchcraft, internet's witchcraft, and smartphones are the most, the biggest form of witchcraft there is. That's the truth. There are witches. There are witches. There are. That's from a Star Trek original series 1. But you watch these shows and they're unsettling and it's like it's anxiety. And I'm not talking about a thriller, where you're on the edge of your seat because it's a thriller. No, I love thrillers. I'm dying for another thriller. I like Tom Cruise because his action movies, some people don't like Tom Cruise. I think he's a good actor. I care about his personal life. I think he's one of those guys that gets so into the role and into the thing that he becomes believable. But if you see the guy in person, he's just a small guy. It's like him, Robert Redford. Woody Allen said it best about when he went out to Hollywood one time. He said, it's Munchkin Land. And I used to live out there. It's total truth. I was managing an actress, and she was 6 foot tall, European. And she had the look, but she was 6 feet tall. And nobody wanted to hire her because they just want munchkins. All that, most of the actors, they're all like these tiny little people, like little people. And, there's a certain rationale behind it, is the frame, the so-called, because, that's why, like Clint Eastwood, he's like a big guy and stuff, but, he's outside and on a horse and in wide open spaces and stuff like that. But, most movies interacting within sets and stuff like that, in order to get everything in the frame, you can't have a bunch of tall people. So they got all these munchkins. And so all the stuff is like miniature down. And if you ever want to tell, this is just a little insider because I was a Hollywood guy. All right. It's like a lot of people, lived my life. I lived out there, did that stuff. If you look at, you say you see some hot girl or something, you can tell by the distance, look at her like forearm. Okay. They'll usually film them, it's like a sex thing, not a sex movie, but I mean, sex sells. That's Hollywood. That's the big pretension there. All these women like, oh, the objectification of women. Yeah, well, guess what? TV, Hollywood, the nightly news, right? The camera shows the leg. Why does the camera like pull around the side and show the leg of the reporter on news shows, right? oh, and they come on there like they're some serious person or some social justice warrior. And I'm going like, you're basically flashing your thighs and you've got a low cut dress and showing as much skin as possible. And you're overly made up, You never have a bad hair day because you got a hairdresser and a makeup artist. And perfect lighting. You want to make a girl look really good, backlight. If you're a girl, you want to get a picture taken of yourself or do a selfie somehow. Backlight yourself. First of all, show your, sleeveless, just shoulders. So you get that skin reflecting on your face. Okay. And then put some backlighting so that reflects on your shoulders. Okay. And then front lighting and never have the camera straight on. You want the camera a little slightly up, but not too far up, but slightly up. And warm and a little bit warmer light from above. You look like a movie star. I know how to do that stuff. I know how to make people look beautiful. But so they do that, that's the big joke. It's all showbiz, it's all freaking showbiz. I forget why I was talking about that. What point I was trying to make about these women. I forget. The white handkerchief. I saw Louis Armstrong used to have a white handkerchief. Of course, this one has a little design on it. I saw Louis Armstrong live when I was a kid on the Steel Pier in Atlantic City, New Jersey, playing his trumpet. Hello, Dolly. And he had that white handkerchief. And because he used to perspire like crazy. Louis Armstrong. Not to be confused with Robert Louis Stevenson. Anyway, are we going to start this show? Is it time to begin? Or is this just...
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
That's what it really is. But, the tragedy of now, the horror of it all. Picasso captured it so perfectly in that tragedy painting in his Blue period. But that's the way people are. They're just like, they're just living in fear. And I guess that's the whole thing. I was talking about binge watching TV, though. And the idea that it's entertainment and you should be feeling good. But these shows are almost made where the characters are so flawed that, it's unsettling, put it that way. So you don't want escapism or, a thriller isn't to be unsettled. You might want to be on the end of your seat. You might want to like, what's going to happen next, but you need the structure of, as you write, like says, like somebody's written so much, you got to have these ups and downs, and they just don't do that, and the series that do, they're the successful ones, but there aren't that many writers out there that really have that down. And I don't know if I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, but why not? I'm going to say nobody watches all these things. Is that, do you ever watch a series and it gets really good, right? Or you get into it and suddenly it's like, wow, it's like, it's really happening. And it's just perfect. It gets in some kind of groove. It's just clicking, Well, what happens is the show came on, it got high ratings and, so it's making money for the network. And so they brought in, they hired a couple extra good writers, or they got some good writers, the high paid writers. And then what happens is another show comes along on a different network or some, one of these paid things or whatever, or a movie or something. and somebody offers those writers more, right? And and then that show starts, like, you ever notice how, like, suddenly the show starts going through a couple of episodes, and you're going like, man, that was weak, that was lame, that was like a nothing episode, that was almost a waste of my time. That's the writing. It's not the directing, it's not the acting, because you've already known, you've already been taken where you wanted to be with that cast and crew. It's the writers, and writing is like, that's where the money is, and that's where it is. But there aren't that many really good writers, and they move around, and you could almost, it's like there should be somebody, and maybe Variety. I don't, I used to read Variety and the Hollywood Reporter and some of that stuff when I was out in LA. I still, I get some Hollywood Reporters. They're actually directed to a friend of mine now. She gets them. I don't get that stuff anymore. I don't have time to read that stuff. And I have no reason to. I'm not making any movies, I don't think. So, but perhaps in there, if you really get into that, you could probably track and find out who's who and where they're going and whatever. Or if you really like wanted to look at the credits really look in there, you can see. When they give a writer an executive producer credit, that's usually like a telltale sign that that's like one of the high paid writers. That's why you see so many executive producers on like some movies or some shows. You ever see that? And you see all these executive producers. Like, what do they got all these what's an executive producer? It's like that's a way for them to give more money to like writers, and more credit and money to writers and other people. But anyway, that's disappointing. So I make my own content. That's what this is. So this is a babble. It's Tony Caravan live by the fire, 6:17 a.m. in the morning. And I was just looking around at some of this stuff yesterday, in my eternal search for something. And I guess how this got started, I ended up watching, of all things, on Netflix, because I've stuck with Netflix now, for 30 days, or 20 some days. And so I couldn't find a single thing to watch. I mean, I'm not sure if it was Netflix or Amazon Prime, but I did watch a Vin Diesel movie that was semi thriller, type of thing, But apart from that, so I ended up watching this show, Criminal Minds, which I never watched because I never watched TV even when I had TV that way. There was a couple of things I would watch, but I would always usually watch them on demand after anyway. Things like The Blacklist. Like, I don't know if that's even coming back, or did it? I don't think. And any kind of, I was into the Marvel things on Netflix and stuff. Like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, that kind of thing. The Punisher. Man. But, they dropped all those, and now Stan Lee's no longer with us. So it's like, there's not going to be a third series, a third season of The Punisher, and you're not going to see another Jessica Jones, or Luke Cage. You'd think there would be Luke Cage now because, I ended up watching Black Thunder. Was it? Was that what it was called? Because, this whole idea of people of color, that's the priority now in all the TV shows and on everything. So you'd think Luke Cage, because he was like, the bulletproof guy from Harlem, but he was Marvel, and and Marvel comics are a little bit, just different than DC comics. That some of the heroes, like the Flash and stuff, they're like wimpy, like the Flash, the kid who plays the Flash. I watch that, sometimes, but like he's like this. He's like a soy boy, wimpy guy. Makes the stupidest mistakes and all this kind of stuff, and it's like it's annoying. So it becomes annoying. You go like, come on, man. This is supposed to be like a superhero show. You want, you want them to take you higher and higher and higher, See, that's what these odd writers, or whether it's intentional, like they don't want that because they don't want to give people this idea of like that they could win victory. They're trying to make everyone some kind of a wimp because they don't want you challenging the status quo. That's probably what it is. And so these hit series, and maybe these writers, they're right. This is intentional, to just keep everything wimpy. Don't question authority or something like that. And don't be free. It's like my thing. Why would this show be this way? So I was trying to say before, so this Jackery thing, this solar thing I have in the back, I did a review on that. I mean, I sell it through my Great Solar Stuff thing. That thing. Okay? There's Great Solar Stuff logo, right? You can see my arms in the fire for some reason. So I'm flipping around, and there's some nobody guy, some doofus. It's not like it's some YouTube superstar or something like that, right? And so, and it's like review of Jackery solar thing, right? He's got 37,000 views. And it's not even like, wasn't even like an intense review of the thing. So how does some nobody, nothing idiot, right, do this and get 37,000 views, and I get one view, and it's somebody I know or something? Same product. I do a better job. I did a better job of presenting how its usage, and explaining it in like real life terms, because I've had these things for 20 years ago. I had the first version of this. It was a different company. So, I mean, if you watch that show, way better. Some guy sitting at a table trying to like, well, in Jackery, such and such number is a thing, and it goes, like some they do on these things, an unboxing, right? These YouTube millionaires. Someone might say, "Oh, you probably just wish you." No, I don't wish. I don't make money. I'm demonetized. I can't make money on YouTube if I wanted to. So no, I don't care about that. And like I tell other people, I get offers all the time, like big offers, because I've done so many things. I mean, I even get writing offers, and publishing deals, but I turn them down. I mean, I've written 10 books. I've got 50 songs. I get people approaching me for, distribution or doing this, or even like tour, open. Hey, do you want to play this, the tour of these, coffee houses and these other type of places and stuff like that? And I'm like, because I'm a beat poet. There's always agents. I had a major agent when I was out in LA. I never I guess I'm still technically under contract with one of the top 3 agencies, talent agencies. My music's all through BMI publishing, for rights management. So, I'm basically, I've been a player, but I'm retired. So, I get offers. I keep getting, I have headhunters coming after me all the time, getting offers to produce this, do this, such and such is looking for a creative director. Somebody wants you to help, is looking for produce this. And they're all like really big things. Or on a smaller level, people want me to do projects. I'm like, I don't want to. I'm done with that. And that's a thing. That's another thing I was thinking about. When you're, this almost sounds depressing, but this gets into this whole idea of being, just an individual and living, when you're wealthy and when you're rich and famous, for, the phrase that people use, or if you're basically poor, like, and whether it's poor from a sense of someone being poor, or someone who's like living the life of the low budget life, has everything, is just non-materialistic. It's exactly the same thing. You're basically, they say it's like lonely at the top, it's lonely at the bottom. The people who don't realize it is that it's like when you're in the working class and the middle class, you're like a social animal because you're working, you're around people all the time. You're doing stuff, you're interacting, you're driving places, you're going to bars, or you're going to events, right? You have coworkers, all that stuff. You're going on vacations, you're playing the dating scene, whatever. But when you're like at the top, I lived in Malibu, when you're up in your little, or your big Malibu home with the hot tub overlooking the Pacific Ocean, watching the sunset, which I used to do. It's like, you're isolated, So unless you have unless your friends come over or something like that, it's no different than me, being isolated like here, you know. Like, it doesn't matter how much money is in your bank account, you know. It's like a weird thing. And so what I said to people is that when you're young, grab all the gusto, used to be a phrase, you can get. In other words, the idea is like, do what I did, travel, work, and experience, work hard, play hard, for from your 20s to your, through your 40s. That's it. Because that's your best, you're in your best shape, and that's like those are the best times, and do that. But if and just get caught up in that, and just have like so many experiences that you don't even realize. Because it was amazing when I was writing my first 2 books, because there's some autobiographical stuff in there, some short stories that were kind of autobiographical. And so when you sit down to writing autobiographical is very difficult. And like in my first book, which I don't have here, it's upstairs. I'm not going to go run upstairs and get it. Take too long. I don't know why. I keep forgetting to bring it down. But the intro in there is something to the effect of, if I recall, when you actually, I have a digital copy of it if I could find it. I think it's on this older hard drive. Previous content, backup, books. Early years cover. It was called The Early Years. And I'm looking for here we go, PDF version. Because if I open up anything otherwise than that, my face is going to look like white. So this book I wrote in 2004. That's copyrighted, 2004. And some works in there were from 1984, 1987, 1991, 1997, 2002, where I refer to certain copyrighted works. And a screenplay that was registered with the Writers Guild. And this one, the dedication in this was for the witches, the exes, the kittens, and the abandoned. But anyway, this is what I wanted to do is the forward of this. It says forward, the present day. If YouTube was cooler, I'd be able to show this on the screen, but I can't. And you say, well, I see other people like they're like going through the internet. Yeah, they have this like third-party software and all this stuff, and they're making a fortune on YouTube. So they like spend $600 for this and whatever for that. And it's like, I've got an older Mac, so no, I can't do that. Or I could do it if I produced this video and did it through a program, which I have done. And you can see I have, I don't know how many videos that were produced, 100 of them. But it, like I said before, it takes 6 hours to, to go through the process of producing, editing, downloading the file, then uploading it to YouTube. And if it's a long video, it's like, hey, I'm not making any money. I'm not spending my entire day to make a thing, But anyway, so you just take it. I'll read it to you. It's Story Time by the Fire. There are times in life when it seems we have no choice but to put our dreams on hold and focus our full time and best efforts on a job that pays the bills, a family emergency, matters of the heart, health, or home. At such moments, we file away our plans, notes, and works, work with the, in parentheses, S, works, in progress, with every intention of returning to them when the current crisis has ended. And although years go by, we still keep those dreams alive, hoping that next month, next year, or at least when we retire, we'll pick up where we left off and everything will be the way we always hoped it would be. But too often life gets in the way. Times change, we age, people change. What was important then is less important now. What could have been and should have been becomes unrealistic, dated, faded, and probably a waste of time. One by one, we begin to let go of our dreams. We streamline our lives, accept our mortality, and search for new meaning based on the realities and limitations of finance, health, and the social climate of the day. But we still have those boxes filled with things. all the stuff we accumulated and filed away for future use. And though we've cleared out most of the clutter and given away the things that we know we'll never have a use for, there are still things that remain. Right? For each of us, these things that dreams are made of, in quotation marks, differ. For many people, they may not even be physical things at all, rather an idea stored away in a remote part of the brain, a memory that was held on to while so many others were allowed to fade away and be forgotten. Anyway, I'm not going to get into reading the whole thing, but the idea is, and that was my first book in 2014 is when I wrote a book prior to that in like 2000, which I ended up eventually, well, I have it somewhere down. I have it actually right over here. It wasn't even really a book. It was like The Truth About Everything. And it was just a series of essays. And it was, big format, like they call this library binding. And there was another book that was like digital only that I had on Amazon for a little while, but I took that down. And what happened was, so I physically have 9 books for sale right now on Amazon and Apple Books and wherever books are sold, technically, because they're all ISBN Library of Congress, books. Everything's done, they're all published, officially published, copyrighted and all that crap. But the reason I say I wrote 10 books, I mean, I could say I wrote 11, but those two, that smaller book and that other digital book kind of got combined and put into incorporated into these other 9 books, so to speak. So in the grand scheme of things, there's like, it's like I wrote 10 books, maybe 11, but I mean, that one like is so small that I just say those two equal 1, 10 books overall book. But what happened was, so what reason I read that intro, that's like the foreword to my first book. When I just decided to write a book, I had this like health issue or something, or I knew I think I might have had some like heart flutter thing or something. I don't know what it was. But I did know, I knew I wanted to get out of 2014 is 7 years ago. So I was living in this, I was doing a lot of projects. I was making decent money. All right. I was publishing a dining and entertainment magazine. I still had my like kind of personal agency, which had become more of a virtual online agency, but I did have like an apartment / office, right? And I was doing these projects every year, or a couple times a year for different people and stuff like that. So, I mean, I had money flowing in, but my cost of living was fairly high, And I wasn't, and it just was like, and I was sitting gaining weight in front of computers all day long. And then if I would go out, it would just be, drinking at a bar and eating some gourmet food or whatever, or just eating their food. Wouldn't say it was all gourmet in that particular time. I mean, the people tried to, but for the most part, no, it wasn't just gourmet. It was just, prepared food, but well prepared, decent chefs, put it that way. And so I got that thing in my mind around that time. If that was 2014, that was published. So it must have been around 2013. So, 7, 8 years ago. And that's when I started to realize I had all this stuff and that there was a couple movies I was thinking I was going to make that I wasn't going to finish, or that I'd started that I wasn't going to finish. And there were some stories that could have been novels that I wasn't going to sit down and make that and write that novel. So I just turned it into a short story. And then I had other goofy things, like just things on index cards and quotes and stuff. So some of my books, in fact, all of my books, especially the earlier ones, were kind of like my videos, Well, I'm not going to grab them. But in other words, usually when you get towards the back, it's just a collection of just things, images, and scans of things. In other words, my life, it was like, imagine having a bunch of boxes of things that you've been hauling around with you, moving all over the place, which I did. Like I moved all over the place. And saying, I'm tired of dragging these boxes around with me. I still got junk here, but this is just junk. I have to just go sift through this and start systematically throwing it out. So what I did was I just started going through this stuff and throwing stuff out, and the stuff that had, that had some kind of merit or I thought was worth expressing, I put in a pile and I started putting that. And that ended up being the content of my first 2 books, more or less. And after I wrote the first book, to be honest with you, I didn't really think I was going to write another book. Like the first book, you could gather from that foreword I read to you. It was just my way of saying, look, I'm going to go through all this stuff, and here it is. I'm just going to put it in this book form because suddenly it's consolidated in a book. I mean, I could show you this. Let's see, where's this? Paranoid about the side of my face, just like seems to be like an endless weird thing. Some of my book covers are like really, really freaking cool. Truth About Everything. This is the one that has stuff from a book that was in, this was last year's book, before my last book. And I've talked about this in a couple of shows. That's not what I wanted to. This was my second book, The Nonconformist. Short stories and essays. But just to explain this, when you get to the back of it, you see what I've got here. They're like clips of things. Like here's a thing circled from SonicNet Music Guide. I don't even think that exists anymore. Tony Caravan's Jet Set Music Lounge. Tired of the abrasive sounds of contemporary rock and hip-hop streaming in your ear? Slip into something more comfortable and acquaint yourself with the sultry sounds of the lounge crowd at Tony Caravan's Jet Set Music Lounge. Lovers, swingers, and sophisticates will swoon to the sound of vintage Rat Pack pop and jazz light and warm up to next to Tony Caravan's internet fireplace. SonicNet. That was the longest running lounge show on the net. Here's one. This is a neat one. I covered this off because it came from a law firm. This is to me. Regarding Happy Christmas, John Lennon. Dear Mr. Caravan, your letter of August 5th has been discussed by us with Yoko Ono. Lennon, on behalf of herself and the estate, she authorizes your use of the above referenced work for inclusion in the compilation album proposed in your prior letter. Please understand this is not deemed to be an endorsement of the product. We would appreciate a sample of the final product to be forwarded to Yoko Ono. I had permission to use Happy Christmas. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I assume that's still valid. I don't think that wasn't like a, but like little things, correspondences from like CBS Records. Here's me, Sydney Herald, Tony Caravan's films, Ready to Roll. I talk about the Troubadour, how I was involved in that. And so like these bits and pieces of stuff I would throw in the back of the book. And then I could just throw away the original, the scraps, right? Because they're in effect digitized, and saved for posterity. And I did that with the first couple of books I wrote. And like I say, at least the first book, that was the whole idea, to just clear it out a couple boxes and just threw away all the clutter, but then it's like anything else, you get the bug. And so then I started writing. It was like every year I started to write a book. And so if that started, first one was copyrighted 2014. This is copyrighted, I guess 2020, right? Where is it? Yeah, 2020. Signed edition, just waiting to be given to someone. I give out books to my family and some friends. I don't even think they read them. My books don't sell either. My beat poetry tracks, I have 50 of them. I'm on like iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, of course, YouTube Music, now they call it. And, everything, every service is imaginable. I'm officially like published with, distributed. And I got a royalty check last year. I don't know, it was early this year or last year for $10. Right. I was managing someone one time, somebody in the music business, remain nameless, who got a royalty check for one quarter for $250,000. I think it was something like that. Ridiculous amount of money. $250,000. I got a check for $10. So no, I'm not. I make zero money. I lose money on YouTube. I occasionally get a small. I do sell a book here or there, and unfortunately, usually they're digital copies, which only sell for like $1.99 or something like that, or I don't know, a couple bucks. So you make, you don't make anything on it. 40 cents. But the moral of the story, not really the moral, but the end of it is, it has to do with the level, and then I've got my own brand of clothing. I've got great solar stuff that can really help people get through crises, right? But there's something going on where they throttle me and they make my videos hard for people to find and view. And I can't figure that out. I talk to people and everyone's puzzled about it because you've never seen, in other words, these absolute nobodies, like somebody just makes a video, okay? And they end up getting at least it starts by getting 385 views, and then they have 1.7K views, and then eventually they end up getting like maybe 10,000, 27, 37,000 views. I'm not talking about the big people that are with the so-called YouTube millionaires or people making six figures on YouTube. I'm just talking about views. And besides, I can't make a dime on it because they demonetized me because Google's against me. Because I had created, I mentioned this in a previous video. I'm not going to get into it. Basically, I had an alternative search engine to Google that was better than theirs. And so they blackballed me. That's what they did. That's a fact. But that was like 20 years ago. And I don't even know if there's anybody working for Alphabet that still even knows who I am at this point and realize how they screwed me over. And so like the wrong search engine came to the fore. I had a much better search I created. But that was the .com revolution days. And, and I was one of the pioneers because I was, like I said, I had an email account and was, using the internet in 1985. 1985. Think about that. That's how long ago. That little, if you could see, this is Mulder's poster from the X-Files from his office down in the basement. Underneath that, this little squarish thing that you see there looks like a screen. That's the original Apple, our original Mac. Yeah, that's how long I've been at this game. But what can I say? Beam me up, Scotty. I've been around for a while. So, it's like when you talk the truth and when you're not in it for the money, which is usually when you find the truth, the truth sayers are usually people who aren't in it for the money, aren't making money on it. That's it's not popular, and long form videos aren't popular. I mean, I've had like 200 I think I have close to 200 videos now, at least close to 60 consecutive live videos. Like I was going to stop this. I wasn't even going to do this. Like I say, it just got to be a habit almost, like the addiction in the sense of, I just got up I said this yesterday, I think too. Well, you get up early in the morning and it's like, I've been doing this for the past every day, for the past couple of months. And before that, I was doing the other ones, but I wasn't doing those like necessarily this early in the morning live. I was producing those videos, but they were becoming they weren't as frequent. That wasn't like a daily thing necessarily. I started to do a daily produced show, the morning show produced this year. But my brother sent me forward. Just do something crazy. I'm doing a live show right now. So, where was I before that interruption? So, yeah. So what I mean is somewhere around 2021 began pretty much in January. I had been doing my videos started, I had these various videos about current events going on, for years now. I was one of the first guys on YouTube, without a doubt, excuse me. And so I was doing these videos, and then I got into the garden thing at my house, and then I was doing some garden videos, that kind of thing. And then I started to produce, these more elaborate videos. So, and so they were like productions. And having had the background, in, film and television, it was just a natural progression. But the productions just became too intense, So it was just too much time. And again, there wasn't enough of an audience to make it, really worthwhile, because like I say, so somewhere along the line, so then I got into this live thing because it was like, because it's live. In other words, what's happening right now is being recorded directly, onto the YouTube servers. And when it's over, and it's up and it's ready to view. I guess there's some algorithm that goes through it and makes sure you didn't say something that's like, wrong speak or something like that. But assuming which I don't, I'm pretty, I don't think I said anything this one, I mean, I started out criticizing the plague, but I think more and more people are starting to come to grips on that. And I've seen plenty of other videos, talk about the truth about that thing. So when this is over, it's up and it's ready to roll, so I share it on some social media platforms, but I don't even know if I'm going to do that like with this one. Because I'm kind of at the point now where I'm thinking, well, the heck with it, If it's not going to get the viewership, I'm just doing this for myself. So it's almost like my first book. I almost wrote my first book was kind of written for me. It was the purpose was to go through those boxes and, just go through the clutter, clear out the clutter, throw away the junk, throw away the physical boxes in the dumpster, and have an archive of my life's unfinished works. And that's what it is. And so then I just went in, got into that thing. And in the 90s, I was like designing websites. I was doing radio shows, internet radio shows, like that lounge thing. But a lot of that stuff was popular, and I was doing other things that, those things really were clicking. But that's when I'm saying that the tragedy of now and the horror is that there seemed in the past, say 10 or 15 years, and I don't know, it kind of coincides with the advent of the smartphone, Black Mirror, and social media, that society's changed. And, you've got this cult of personality, and politics is pop culture. And no one seems interested in anything, even if it's helpful to them, like things like that, like the great solar stuff, even if it's going to benefit their life or improve, help them, So, that's like a distinctive change. And, so this isn't a meme. It's not a headline, and it's it's probably be a 2-hour video. And like, who the heck's going to sit down for 2 hours? Well, I will, I will. But people like, they don't have that kind of time. But I really wonder because, all people have today is time. Most of the country's still, fairly locked down. All these unemployed people are just collecting unemployment, basically getting paid to sit at home. People just got $1,400 checks. People living together and couples got, like close to $3,000. So it's like, what are you doing? What do you mean you don't have time to hear something? And, this particular show is just a flow of consciousness, like I've referred to. I mean, if you watch the last several shows that I've made, there's, honestly, without being, on some kind of ego trip, they're actually, there's profound things in those. You can truly will be enlightened if you watch some of my previous videos. I mean, going forward, I don't necessarily know, I think I'm going to be more into this just freeform thing. And I don't know if I'll do it every day or not, if this thing will fade as the weather gets warmer and warmer and I have more things to do outside, because I really do love being outside. And, and that's it. And I've got a garage out back, and which is real. I don't have a car. I don't drive anymore. I don't have a license. I just let all that stuff expire. I mean, why have a car? The only thing I would use it for would be to go to a box store and buy some lumber, which I could use right now. But the price of like 2x4s is like so expensive and so off the wall that like, who the heck, wants to waste the money. So I make do with, whatever I've got. That's the way I'm looking at it right now. So, I'm tired of seeing my hands. I don't know if I can move this here anymore. There we go. Should have done that a long time ago. That's a t-shirt up there. Everything you know is wrong, by the way. That's another one of my t-shirts. You could get game over on a t-shirt too. That thing that's on that hat. And obviously this t-shirt, the brand, and you don't know what you don't know, which I've worn on other episodes. I have I think I have most of my t-shirts. And the morning show, has got its whole collection of stuff. Which is just kind of fun thing to do, because the average person doing this stuff, I mean, apart from the YouTube millionaires that have product, so to speak, but nobody's buying my stuff. I just do it because I just wanted to create, it's show business. It's just, it's the theatrics of it all,
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
So, I mean, I have the setup, I have the getup, I have the equipment, and I've got the ability to talk, and I've certainly got stories to tell. And some of those videos, I've gotten into some pretty good rants and really good stories, just past stories about some of my adventures. So, I mean, that's the whole thing. And so, keeping with the theme of this thing, I think it's a real tragedy, the past decade and a half or so, really, watching Western civilization literally crumble, watching the United States, which doesn't exist anymore, the former United States, like I say, it's got irreconcilable differences. Watching a younger generation, people born, who, in a time where they only know social media, only know a smartphone, it's attached to them like an appendage. guys like Elon Musk, who are basically, you could say mad geniuses almost in a sense. You can't deny his intelligence. All right. But like, he's lost his mind. Neural link, drilling a hole in people's heads, trying to merge man with machine. It's like, the technocrats, transhumanism, Google Deep Mind. These people trying to find immortality by putting their consciousness in the cloud. They don't even understand consciousness is from a metaphysical standpoint, and that's what this book is about. That's where this book takes you. It asks those questions. It poses things. It's not some great work that's going to give you the answers to everything, but it's going to open up the cobwebs of your mind and maybe help you. It's one step in seeing reality the way it really is. And that's what this whole series of videos have been. And like I say, the live aspect of it is like, once I do it, it's done. And then I get to watch them. So it's free content for me. That's what I get out of this. I get out of this the content. And to explore ideas, and then to watch myself how my thought process and how I, get from point A to point B or what have you. And it's, so it's, I wouldn't use the word therapeutic exactly, but it's more or less, it is an educational, and enhancing experience, I would say, for me. It enhances my being, my consciousness, in a way, because I know myself better, right? And I see how I deal with ideas and what things I would struggle on, and then moves me to a point of realizing where I struggled on something that would point me in a direction to further research that, or or resolve that that issue, whatever I was puzzling over. So that's what this is, and that's where I think these things are coming. And what I was trying to say before, and I wasn't tooting my horn when I was talking about all the things I've have done over my life, and just going back even to the 90s and saying, look, I used to make all these websites before people even knew people were even on the internet. And I used to broadcast and do these kinds of webcasts and podcasts before they even invented the iPod, or that podcasts were there. I was doing it. And with friends and other people. But I mean, it was really a small group of people doing this kind of thing. And, and then, these were all creative outlets. So it's no different than, doing graphic design, creating HTML or server side, websites that respond through server side includes, SSI, learning to take traditional broadcast analog ideas and take them into the digital world, do radio shows on, on the internet, and then write books, and then create songs a library of songs. I mean, I have literally, let's see here. This was my first CD that has a couple of decent songs on it, but I wouldn't recommend this one. This is mostly garbage. You see that if you see that face on Spotify, skip that music. This is my kind of the essential one. My newer stuff is way better. You know, the more what's on the essential one. And there's stuff missing from that. There's stuff I've written since then. But, you know, these are all creative outlets. But like I say, every time I've approached them, see, unlike these like phonies, you know, these, like I say, these, I don't know. People are like clowns and stuff. Fools, this one guy calls them. You know, they're just like, they make you laugh almost. It's a tragedy, and yeah, it's the horror, and it's a tragedy. Because what you've got is you've got all these people out there, you know, who are just, you know.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
You've got people still afraid of something that's a lot of what they've been saying about it has been debunked by like really, really intelligent people now. And that's starting to really, you know, circulate. But it's only circulating among those of us who are open to, you know, long form videos or reading a paper, you know, a published paper. Because everyone, all that fear out there is all from headlines, used car salesmen on TV, memes, posts, and tweets, and things that go viral. That's what happened over the last decade and a half when these things took over, and this whole social media and smartphones and apps just destroyed society. And so the people in that, if you go back and when this is over and look at that Picasso painting, the tragedy, you know, that just sums it up completely. And, you know, going forward from here, you know, where you don't get out of this, you know, when Western civilization fell, which it did, and when the United States fell, which it has, you know, it's like I've said, oh man, 100 times. Rome never came back. Greece never came back. You know, Spain was an empire. It never came back. You know, Spain, you know, Columbus and all that conquest and the conquistadors, right? Never came back, right? When, you know, British sea power, when they were the world empire and colonized, you know, all, you know, the U.S., and again, we kicked them out, and then they were doing the same in India, and then Gandhi came along and they left there. South Africa, you know, that's all goes on. But then there's the Mayans, Inca, you know, the Southeast Asia countries, you know, civilizations that are still buried, you know, in jungles. Not to mention the ones that are buried under the sand in, you know, the Middle East and stuff. When civilizations fall, there's not like a day you put on it. You know, that's the problem with people. You know, you think like when the Roman Empire fell, no, you know, there's these historians that could say, you know, put together a series of events and say, these are the things that led to the fall of the Roman Empire. Right. And, you know, there may be someone, but I've read a lot up a lot of that, because I'm interested. I have an interest in history and geography and art and all everything, culture, human behavior, all those things. But, there may be some stooges out there that have said, on such and such a date, but not really. It's like, it's circa. That's the word, circa. Rome fell, circa. Greece fell, circa. The Incas reached their peak, circa. Right? This is what they talk about. The Sumerians, culture, circa. So whatever, circa a couple thousand years ago, 1,000 years ago, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, circa this, circa that. It's all a circus. But, there's not a date. I'm telling you it's happened. Western civilization has fallen. The U.S. has fallen. It's not coming back. And there's people clinging to this idea, and they have a cult of personality of some hero figure is going to save them, or they're still binge watching the news channels, 24-hour news channels, because politics has become their pop culture. And they're filled with fear because all the stations, the manipulators, what I call the corporatocracy, the people that run this whole world now, it's all a big business, big ag, big pharma, big tech, which is big data, right? Military industrial complex, the financial industry, right? Various central banks like the Fed, the UN, the EU, which is the World Economic Forum, Davos set, Great Reset, right? These things, that's the real world, But people don't want to hear about that because that's too confusing, and that requires reading. You have to go and you have to read stuff to understand. And it's not straightforward, understanding. You have to watch and research and find out about these things. They all exist. The answers are all out there. It's like, it's like looking at something the CIA did. You have to go to the CIA.gov site and look at and wade through declassified documents to find a thing. They're not willing to do that. People just want to see a headline, or they want to see some goofy YouTuber wearing I saw that yesterday, wearing some alien mask, dancing around in the desert, right? Who's making a living off of YouTube. And then it's coming out and is talking about some metaphysical things or something else. But all his credibility goes down the drain because he's walking around with some mask on. Or some other YouTuber that's like some DIYer that's just, just bought his wife a $50,000 or $60,000 car. It's like, where'd you get that money? I thought you were like poor, and this whole adventure. Or the guy I talk about in other videos who bought a plane, right? And they were living in a tiny RV. It's supposed to be off grid. And suddenly they can, after less than a year or so, they connected to the grid, and the guy's buying a plane, and they're a private plane, right? I mean, the absurdity of that is so ridiculous, and then then a lot of these, ultimately they end up disappearing because they end up with a couple of $1 million in the bank, and they go like the heck with it, and they just live out their lives. But, there'll probably be like a lot of these bling bling, musicians or movie people that, when the money runs dry, they'll be back. And by the time they're poor, this YouTube thing will have run its course. Social media will have run its course. Facebook and Twitter and these things aren't going to last forever. They're passing fancies, really. That's something people forget, that, there are trends in culture and pop culture. And it's just like no one can put a finger and say, oh, this is when Rome fell. This is when Greece fell, right? Well, no, you can't really put a date. You say, it's like American Pie. I hate that song, but the day the music died, right? Which I've heard, there's like a couple different tales about that. I thought originally they were talking about when Buddy Holly, his plane crashed, right? But I've heard some other alternative explanation to that too. But, it's like, but that's not true, the music didn't die, then. In fact, if anything, rock and roll, that was so long ago. Rock and roll was just coming to, would rise and take over the music industry. But when did but you can, you can't put a date on when punk rock died, right? It faded out. Disco, you can't say, oh, on such and such a date disco was over. No, it faded out. These were all trends. This is pop culture, right? See, even like CNN, I went through that in one of my recent videos yesterday or 2 days ago, I forget. Ted Turner started that in 1980, and that was like the beginning of like the really where cable became now legitimized because he put so much money behind it. But now CNN is lucky if it gets a million some viewers, which is really, like I say, it's 1/3 of 1% of the US population. So, but the question is, you can say, well, when did it die? Right. And it's not a specific day. You can't say, well, that particular day, that story, that was the end of CNN. It's like, no, well, it's still there. I mean, it's the same as, like I say, when Rome fell, Italy's still there. Greece fell, the country Greece is still there, still Greeks. When British Empire fell, there's still, Britain. The Queen's still, wearing her crown and knighting people. And, and it's the same with everything else. But people don't understand their trends and things. So things fall out of fashion, so to speak. Trends end, empires rise and fall. But they never come back to their full glory. And while people are experiencing those things, and even during the fall of those things, it's unnoticeable by most people. And that's one of the reasons why some of the things I say are unpopular, because people refuse. They have cognitive dissonance. They refuse to accept it. They don't want to accept. They go, well, in 2022 elections or 2024 will. I'm like, man, all that stuff's over. The corporatocracy's in charge now. There's really no government. That's political circus. That's media political circus. It's, they're just a bunch of, they're entertainers, puppets, marionettes, with their strings being pulled by the corporatocracy and that litany of, big tech, big ag, big pharma, that I listed before. That's who rules the world. That's who writes the laws. That's who's in charge. And so, yeah, it's a real tragedy, and for people, they don't see this. They're living in fear. Many, many people, the majority of people, I would say, are living in fear, have been like tormented, tortured, indoctrinated as children, propagandized as adults, scared to death, right, by the media and politicians. And they just don't get it. And that's why, the second line under my title card, when you turn this off or look at it, it says the horror. Because that's what it is. It's just, it's horrific what's come down. So that doesn't mean that life is bad. No. like I said, it's, I had a great day yesterday laying in the sun, listening to music, planting my lettuce plants, listening to the birds, getting a suntan, more or less. And so, no, you can live your life, you have, like I always say, you have five senses. Use those five senses to the full extent. Experience the beauty of existence, and just decouple yourself, or try to limit your exposure to the corporatocracy that really runs this crazy planet. So I'm going to end it there pretty much. It's about the 2-hour mark. So if anyone did watch this, thanks. I'm typing this. Thanks for watching. And, I'll be back from time to time. I don't know. I could do this. I could keep doing this for the time being. I probably won't do a garden video for at least a couple of days because I don't expect anything to happen. I'm waiting for these things that I put in to, like, I want to see them take root and strengthen, for two reasons. One, it'll be better content for you to view, to watch and learn. I'm hoping to show you how easy it is. Everything I'm growing in my garden, I've grown from a seed, and I started in my house. And there's some seeds I did put in the ground. But this to show you how you can do this and you can live this way in a house that cost about $15,000 or $16,000, that I have a mortgage, taxes, and insurance that's under $200, right? So that you can live free, you can retire early, that you can, all right, grow your own food, you can experience, get that vitamin D and live healthy, and do anything you want to do. It's up to you. So that's the positive takeaway from this whole thing. The tragedy, the horror is what these poor people who are, I wouldn't say poor people because they're rich too, or they're people, upper middle class people, the fear that they have and the way they're living their lives. They're wage slaves, scared to death of a plague, don't know what to do, right? Relationships. I mean, it's like their whole lives are just totally disrupted by this social media and these smartphones. They just don't get it. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to have fun. They don't like.
Hello. 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 Good morning.
So yeah, good morning. On an upbeat. Have fun. Enjoy life. Right? This is the way it is. I'm going to do these things from time to time. I'll give you an update on the garden when those lettuce plants look, and those herbs kind of like look like they've taken root, stronger, healthy root, and are starting to, like, stand firm, in the ground. And then we'll look at that and I'll talk more about that. In the meantime, I may or may not keep doing these if I get up early. Otherwise, there's such a backlog. There's some really, really, really good videos that I've done in the last week or two that I highly recommend you watch. I mean, I covered some good stuff in there. Check it out. Have a great day. Cheers. Talk to you soon.